Fighter, you ready?
Combate Global.
Oh, what a punch. What an incredible fight. Can you believe what you just saw? We have a champion.
From spinning knockouts to bone-breaking submissions, we saw it all on the last episode with the 2017-2018 Copa Combate, but things only got better from there. I'm Alex Wendling alongside Campbell McLaren, and we're going to be taking a deeper look into the toughest tournament in sports with the rest of the Copa Combates in history. How excited are you for this?
Well, this is how excited I am. Look at this trophy in the background. It's the biggest trophy in sports. It is 1 centimeter bigger than the Stanley Cup. And why do we have such a big trophy? Because the Copa winner deserves it. Like the World Cup, but only once a year instead every 4 years. 8 fighters, 8 countries, $100,000. You got to win 3 fights in one night. It really, really is exciting. That's how we do it. And I think the way that fighters prove their real courage, bravery, skill, tenacity, all those words, is by entering a one-night tournament, and that's what the Copa is.
A lot is definitely on the line in a single elimination format. We went to Cancun, then we went to Fresno, and now we're gonna take a look into Peru. So how excited are you to see those fighters really go on a big stage and show that Peru is on the map?
You know, I'm glad we're doing this show because, to tell you the truth, when I'm there, when you see it live, it's so mind-boggling and overwhelming. It's so much cooler to go back and look at it on TV.
Yeah, well, we're gonna dive straight into that. All the action, mucha más acción coming up in Copa Combate. And here we have the 2019 Copa Combate 8-man bracket. 7 countries represented. Since we're here in Peru, we have 2 fighters that are from Peru. And now for the first match, Lucas Corbage in the yellow shorts representing Brazil versus Jose Verdugo representing Mexico. That knockout though, finishing him.
Yeah, Verdugo's a tough character. Right? And I think there's a mystique around Brazilian fighters, and Verdugo just thought, not today.
That's when you know when you get punched and a bunch of spit comes out and you don't know where you're at. No recovering from that.
No. You can always tell how the guy's knees go out too. And that's what the refs look for. If the knees buckle under like that, they're not going to let it keep going.
Mexico advances into the semifinals, and now it is USA versus Spain.
Ghost Pepper, not only a very, very good fighter, a very favorite fighter of mine, but he was a world-class gamer as well.
Gamer, like video games.
Video gamer. Very good stuff. But I guess he left the joystick alone long enough to get into the gym.
Yeah, that is something that a lot of fighters like to get into, the video games, because it relaxes their body and they can still have their mind be active.
Yeah.
But Ghost Pepper, laying it down like he learned a thing or two from those video games, gets the decision to advance into the semifinals. Now we have USA and Mexico headed to the semifinals.
This was a tough event for us. This is a very tough event. We had to build a cage. Peru did not have a world-class La Jaula for us to use. We actually sent our engineers now to build this one.
But they do have a world-class fighter in Humberto Bandanay, representing Lima, Peru, letting it fly and really just showcasing his skills in his hometown crowd.
Absolutely. Tough guy, high-level fighter. And likes putting on a show, too. Like a lot of great fighters, he's a showboat.
And the Colombian, disappointed he did not get the win, but Humberto advances into the semifinals. And up next, we're going to see some pretty graphic stuff. So if you're wheezy on the stomach, make sure to look away from your TV for this one. But
Don't be a weenie.
It is Peru versus USA, and we get our first official bone break, not even intentional.
Snap.
Yeah.
Ooh, that
there
hurts.
It is.
That hurts.
Don't break your fall like that, Campbell.
That's why drunks don't get hurt when they fall. They don't try to put their arm out to stop it. You need to tuck and roll, yo. Look, he's so messed up he can't even come out and stand next to the winner.
That is a crazy, crazy finish, completely accidental. But now
look at this face-off. Look at this. This is intense.
They are hungry. Humberto representing Peru, taking on the Mexican in Verdugo. And we're seeing some great flashy kicks from Humberto. Feeling confident at this
he's
point.
a showman. Oh, there it goes.
And he's dropped. Ground and pound finish for the Peruvian.
Are you not entertained? I think he saw that movie Gladiator. And
everyone in the crowd is probably losing their mind at this point.
It was fantastic. Peruvian crowd was great. It's a beautiful country. Got a few problems these days, but it's a great place.
And now we are getting Ghost Pepper back in action, taking the other Peruvian inside La Jaula. This is Mexico versus Peru, the semifinals, looking to punch their ticket to 100K. Now to the back is the Peruvian. But Ghost Pepper knows that there's 100K on the line. He's not going to tap to just anything.
He's also a very experienced fighter, and he knows keep your chin down.
And now he's to the back of the Peruvian, who looks a little gassed out at this point. Now to the back, under the neck. That's when you know you're in danger. Has his hooks in.
Look how red his face is going. Oh, yeah.
Ghost Pepper gets the nod, headed into the finals. And now we're going to be having another American in the finals of Copa Combate, taking on the Peruvian, who has that home court advantage right now.
Yeah, I think Bandonnet is a great fighter, and he envisioned his future win. He's very good at seeing himself winning, and I think that very much helps in the fight game. You see yourself as a winner.
Wow, those knees that they are throwing, they are trying to knock each other out. And we're really seeing Humberto mix it up from everywhere. But Ghost Pepper, like a cannon out of nowhere, coming in hot, really peppering him up. It'll be interesting to see, can Humberto bounce back a bit?
Remember, this is the third fight. This is the third fight of the tournament. Third fight for these guys. And they're tired, but they got to keep going.
And in the finals, they fight 3 rounds, unlike the quarterfinals and the semifinals when it was just 1 5-minute round. So this is the ultimate test. Who has the stamina and the will to win 100K? It goes to the Peruvian Humberto Bandonnet. What a moment.
There's only one Inca. It's the Inca, and he was the Inca that night.
That crowd in Peru must have been losing their minds.
Oh, Alex, what you got to understand is what the Copa does is it allows a bunch of countries to show how tough their fighters are. And so the pride around it is just amazing. And that was, a chance for Peru and Lima to really show what they have.
A lot of country pride was on the line. A great performance, and we have much more action coming to you guys after the break. Welcome back to the Best of Combate, where we just saw some crazy, crazy highlights. A lot of them would go absolutely viral in this day and age. But in 2019, social media didn't have the presence like it does today. So how do you think the emergence of digital media and social media have played a role in MMA?
Well, it wasn't like Abe Lincoln's time, Alex, my dear. There definitely was, Twitter, because it was Twitter, it wasn't X. There was no TikTok. I think TikTok's had a great effect on the fight sports, because the fight sports are fun. And then when you boil it down to people being punched in the face and you put some funny music behind it, that's great stuff. But I think some people call MMA the sport that Twitter built. And I think that's right, because what it did was it allowed the fans to really get in the act, in that they could talk to each other, they could talk at the fighters, they could talk at the promoter, and that was a great thing. I think everything speeds up, and there's a lot of fun in how social media treats MMA now, and I think fun helps spread the message. So that's, I think, the big difference is TikTok, but we had Twitter way back in the 2018s.
Oh, yeah, way back when. I mean, MMA Twitter does do a good job of engaging the audience. People really believe that they're journalists when they're just fans on MMA, and that's kind of different from any other sport, I feel like. So it's very interesting to see how involved the MMA fans get on digital platforms. But what would you say the biggest difference is in promoting an MMA promotion compared to other martial arts promotions?
Well, martial arts promotions, I think, are still few and far between. But if you compare it to other combat sports, if we roll wrestling and we roll boxing into this, I think what's different is for the UFC and for Combate, people know the brand. So, you know the UFC, it's the most established of all the MMA organizations. And you know Combate equals fun, fast fights, mucho más acción. So I think when you see Combate or you see the UFC, you go, I think it's going to be pretty good. And I think if you look at boxing to an extent, it's all about the individual boxers. Nobody goes, oh, it's a WBA event, I got to see that, right? They don't think about the promotions as having sort of a brand or a style, right? So, you see Combate, you know it's going to be fast, furious. It's going to come at you. We're going to try to take each other out standing up. That's what you can expect. Now, WWE, also been around a long, long time. I think they do a great job in promoting themselves and the next event. So if you're watching one, you're going to hear about the next. And that really is something that WWE has really created in this business. So look, I love them all. I go to the UFC. I never watch it on TV though, because I go there live and I get sort of celebrated as the founder. And Combate, I think, is great on TV. I think of all the promotions, all the combat sports, I think ours is the most fun to watch. I know I'm biased, but watch it and see if you agree.
Yeah, definitely see for yourself how Combate Global makes it different. And we really have seen the evolution of MMA kind of go from this human cockfighting, no rules, completely wild, wild west into a true sport. So when you look at how the rest of the world views MMA, what would you say are some misconceptions that people have towards the sport?
You know, the biggest misconception, no disrespect, amigo, but Dana White did not create this sport. I did. He's certainly more famous than I am. That I can't deny, but that's a big misconception. I'll tell you, it's interesting as you go around the world. France just legalized MMA 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And back to the human cockfighting stuff. You know, one time live on air, they asked me if it was human cockfighting, and I said no. All the men wear pants. And I think it was maybe the greatest moment of my promoter's career. But the misconceptions are many, right? Women shouldn't do it. Combate certainly proved that wrong, right? As I said, Dana White started the UFC. No, Dana came in 2000. I started it in 1993. It's illegal in parts of the world. No, it's not illegal anywhere. But you need a sanctioning body to approve it. Can be an athletic commission, a boxing commission, a martial arts commission, but there's no place where it is illegal. It's more that it is not sanctioned is a better way to look at it. And is it human cockfighting? I think I answered that earlier.
And you did bring up some of the women who have fought and really trailblazed the way for women in martial arts. I think it's a beautiful thing because they weren't given the opportunity for quite some time. So you also build a brand when you fight inside the cage, and you can take that into other realms of the world, whether it be comedy, acting. So what are your thoughts on being able to take the fight career into the entertainment side of the business?
Look, it's a great thing. And I say this to all of our fighters. Fighting is a hard way to make money, and it's a hard way to, last throughout a long career. It's a tough business. Take the fight, become famous, use your fame to do something else, whether it's acting. If you can sing away.
Melissa Amaya.
But if you can go to the WWE, do that. If you can go Conor McGregor style into the movies, do that. If you can start a whiskey, tequila, gin brand, do that. Make your money from your fame, because it is tough and sometimes the careers are real short in fighting. Figure out another way to use the fame you get from fighting in Combate to make tons of money without people punching you in the face.
A great message there, building the foundation for the Combate Global fighters to propel their career. And we're going to look back on some of the careers of the top Combate fighters within these next profiles. The storylines coming from Copa Combate 2019 were classic. Everything from the win to the face-off at the end of the battle between Humberto Bandenay and Rafa Garcia, setting things up for an eventual championship bout between those two.
Yeah, which ended up being quite a good fight that Rafa won. But this is kind of a touchy subject for me, amiga. I'm not doing Copa. I'm not doing Combate Global to send folks to the UFC. I love the UFC, but I'm keeping the fighters. And Rafa Garcia is doing very well in the UFC, so I'm glad to see that. But I didn't want to let him go. But two things happened. COVID hit. Rafa was under contract, but we had to cancel so many events in 2020. We canceled 28 of our 30 events. And, you know, fighters have a shelf life. They're at their peak for a short period, and their whole career is not long. So Cub Swanson, who manages and trains Rafa Garcia, Cub was a well-known UFC fighter and a friend of mine, called me up and he said, can you consider letting Rafa go to the UFC? And I was like, oh, it's you know, I don't know what they feed them or comes out of the tap in Mexicali, but it makes the fighters there tough. I did not want to give up Rafa, but I am delighted he's doing well in the UFC. We didn't have fights for him. Cub Swanson called in a favor. Amigo, you owe me one. And that's what happened there. Yes, so it's a little bit of a sore spot, kid.
Yeah, Humberto Bandenay challenging Rafa Garcia, and they went to war. And like you said, it's hard to stay on top. Humberto won Copa, and then he fell short against Rafa. So we're gonna get to take a look into Rafa Garcia's career as he was a Combate Global fighter.
Big kick again, and the right hand that looks like it's gonna end this fight and get a Peruvian to the final.
Esta compañía es lo que tiene, ¿no? Peleadores de nivel y yo estoy preparado para cualquier reto grande.
Dice,
Humberto Bandenay es un peleador muy bueno y como lo tengo que respetar porque es mi oponente, pero no hay miedo, no hay miedo.
Sé que es un peleador invicto, que recién esta va a ser su primera defensa del título.
Nunca estoy pensando en estar invicto, ¿me entiendes? Lo que estoy pensando siempre es en ganar. Es toda mi mentalidad. Siento que entreno bastante duro y doy todo en mi gimnasio, hago bastantes sacrificios. No estoy pensando en el invicto, siempre lo he dicho, estoy pensando en ganar cada pelea.
Es un peleador completo, es un peleador que yo respeto, pero ahí vamos. Yo con mi equipo ya sabemos cuáles, como tú dices, tú mencionas, ¿no? Sus fortalezas y debilidades y las vamos a aplicar ese día en la estrategia.
Cualquier fortaleza que tenga Humberto Bandenay no la va a tener contra mí en esa pelea. Esta pelea la voy a dictar yo y se va a hacer como yo quiera.
Está peleando en su casa, pero yo estoy más que listo para poder aguarle la noche ese día.
Pues me siento muy bien de regresar a mi casa y defender lo que gané ahí.
Del ganador por decisión unánime. Y ahora, el campeón ligero de Combate Américas. Puro Chicali, Baja California, México. Rafa.
Siento que para mí es un orgullo y siento que toda mi gente está orgullosa de mí, ¿me entiendes? Y no los puedo dejar abajo y eso es algo que tengo que hacer, ¿me entiendes? Defender mi título y dejar en claro que yo soy el campeón.
No, tranquilo, yo he tenido la oportunidad de pelear en México con un invicto, así que ya sé lo que se siente, ¿no? Y creo que me desenvuelvo mejor con público en contra que así de local.
Como le digo, no nomás es Mexicali, cruza la frontera del Valle Imperial, cruza un poquito más para el lado oeste, es Yuma. Somos una ciudad tan grande, estamos todos unidos. Cuando peleo yo siento que todos se unen.
Soy un peleador experimentado, un peleador que ha tenido bastantes luchas fuera y dentro del país. Y como digo, estoy ansioso por ese día.
Siento que Humberto Bandenay en el torneo tuvo unas peleas más cortas que Ghost Pepper y Ghost Pepper tuvo unas peleas un poquito más largas. Pero es así tocó los brackets, no le quiero quitar ningún mérito a Humberto, pero si tú puedes notar que Humberto no hizo lo que yo hice contra Ghost Pepper.
No, más allá de la plata era la emoción de poder darle un logro a mi país, de yo revertir las cosas, ¿no? Venía en un buen momento y esa satisfacción fue única, ¿no? Ya lo demás viene por sí solo.
Bueno, próximo rival para la primera defensa del título de Rafa García en 155 libras.
Sí, yo se lo dije. Previo a la Copa Combate le dije que iba a recoger esa copa y iba por él. Ahora estoy en ese camino. Y nada, ya se lo canté una vez y el 21 le voy a quitar su cinturón.
En el carrero no me dijo nada, nomás gritó, me imagino que porque se siente cómodo estando en casa, pero las palabras se las lleva el viento, ¿me entiendes? Yo hablo dentro de la jaula y ya tenemos fecha, no hay nada que decir. No hay nada que decir, tenemos fecha, tenemos un lugar donde nos vamos a enfrentar y voy a quedarme con ese cinto. Mientras yo esté aquí en combate, ese cinto va a estar aquí conmigo.
Rafa Garcia, a great fighter for Combate Global.
Man, this brings back, I don't know if it's flashbacks or, whatever, but a tremendous fighter. You heard the story of what happened to him. And then thinking about the Copa, those nights are so exciting. It's amazing, the Copa nights.
Yes, it always brings all the action, the toughest tournament in sports. And we're going to have a lot more action coming for you guys after the break. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the best of Combate Global, where we're going to be breaking down submissions right here inside La Jaula. First up is Christian Barraza, the Chileno who competed in the 2021 Copa Combate. The submission that we're going to be taking a look at, though, is against Diego Silva, where he gets a beautiful armbar. And we have another Christian here that's going to be breaking down that submission. So let's take a quick look at that submission.
So much at stake for Christian Barraza. His girlfriend, Gloria Bravo, she has fought a couple times recently. We have seen him cornering her, so he's been very busy in this facility. We are underway, but this is all about him. He gets the victory. He will get into the Copa Combate, the tournament. Already we know a couple fighters that are going to be there. Patrick Lehane at the top of that list. We don't know exactly what weight division. It probably won't be 125, but right now Barraza in red at 125 pounds. His opponent, Diego Silva, wearing pink shorts, again, to recognize Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yeah, Diego knew that Christian Barraza has a very strong jiu-jitsu game, so he doesn't want to be in this position. On the contrary here, for Diego, he made his debut this year. This guy has fought already 5 times, and the first time being was in a tournament where he ended up winning at that tournament back in May.
This begins our main card on Paramount Plus, and already a guillotine attempt. It slipped out for Diego Silva. 4-0 in the amateur ranks. He's had a up and down start to his professional career, but now above water at 3-2, and we've seen the highlight reels of him, Rodolfo. Beyond impressive.
Very talented fighter, very athletic, but he needs to be careful. Again, he knew what Barraza was going to bring to the table. He knew that he was a jiu-jitsu expert. He needs to somehow, some way transition out of this and bring it back to the feet if he wants a victory here in Combate Global.
And just talking to Rodolfo, as we mentioned it in the pre-fight show, he saw a victory in those amateur ranks from Silva, and it reminded him of Anthony Pettis, just to think of that kind of athleticism. But right now, no athleticism being shown. He is in a bind as Barraza has him locked in.
He needs to be very careful here. Barraza wearing him down. He knows exactly what he needs to do, trying to rip it up and get that arm bar. And he has it.
He's got the arm bar. He's in hard. He hasn't tapped yet, but Silva certainly has to. Now he starts. He starts to churn. Silva, now that was a tap?
No,
yeah, that was a tap. Christian Barraza, his most impressive fight in the Jaula by far. At 125 pounds, he is a force.
So now that we got to look at that submission, let's break it down. Christian Barraza, the Chileno, he pulls guard. A lot of people might look at this position and be like, oh, this isn't good for the bottom guy, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do off of your back for all the jiu-jitsu nerds out there. So he isolates that arm, and then he quickly goes for the arm bar position, has his legs over. I'm not just keeping my legs here lackadaisical. I'm chopping down at the neck, really putting the pressure in. And his opponent becomes weary of what he's trying to do. So he starts to defend it a little bit, and in this moment, he inverts, and he tries to go belly down. And instead of getting the belly down armbar, his opponent rolls through. And in MMA, this is the fun part, because usually you would have to break this grip with some type of jiu-jitsu technique. But in MMA, you can kind of just use some man straight and lay down some hammer fists to get your opponent to let go of their grip, protecting their arm. And so, some pretty big notes here. I don't want to be doing an armbar without the elbow line, because I'm trying to break the arm. The point of the break is right here on the elbow. So I want to make sure that the weakest point of his arm is alongside the strongest point of my body, which is my hips. That's generating all of the power here. So when you combine the angle that he has, I mean, I could finish it from here just by hipping up.
But Christian Barraza takes it a whole nother level because his opponent, Diego Silva, was not wanting to tap. He was thinking about it. He was like, should I tap? Will he not actually break it though? And Christian's like, I will actually break your arm if you do not tap. So once he put it behind this armpit right here, it was game over, and Diego Silva knew he had to tap. So a great win for Christian Barraza, a beautiful, well-executed armbar that he transitioned to from full belly down back to regular armbar. So one more time from the top, Christian pulls him into his guard. Gets him here, doesn't want that ground and pound action, so he's isolating an arm as quickly as he can, and he quickly inverts, gets into that armbar position and makes sure that he's controlling his opponent. Then when his opponent tries to defend a little bit, they end up in this belly down position. And now, what does he have to do? He has to break this grip. And Diego is holding on to it for dear life. So he's just gonna lay down some friendly hammer fists. Let me take your arm, boy. I'll just break that real quick. And instead of, just doing only the hip thrust, he's like, oh, you think I'm not mean? I'm mean like that. And that will get you the tap right there. So Christian Barraza, well executed, had to do it against my training partner. Christian, your arm's okay though, right?
I hope so, yeah.
Okay, we'll get him to the hospital at some point. But plenty of other crazy submissions have happened in the Combate Global cage. So we'll break those down at another point. But we hoped you enjoyed this one for now. We have a lot more action coming to you guys on the best of Combate Global. So stay tuned.
Copa Combate 2021, bringing things back to Miami. What was the energy like going into this tournament?
That was fabulous. One, because Miami is a very energetic, fun, sexy city. We also added 2 European countries, non-Spanish speaking European countries, because we've always had Spain. We brought in France and we brought in Ireland. And what they have in common is, what do they have in common? Well, they both hate the English. That's something. And other than that, what they had in common was the desire to take the trophy back to their country.
Yes, the biggest trophy in sports. A lot on the line there with a lot of country pride. The toughest tournament in sports is on the line in Miami. And after a long layoff with 2020, it was nice to get back into action. So we're going to be able to break down all the action that went on in the 2021 Copa Combate, because they left it all on the line.
It was a great one. That was a great one.
Now we're taking a look at Copa Combate 2021. In the first quarterfinals, we have Ireland versus Chile. Jose Zarus in the black shorts and Franz Mlambo in the orange.
Listen, for a lot of Americans, it's a strange thing. Oftentimes when we see someone, a black fighter, you assume they're going to sound like a black American. But Franz is a great guy, a great fighter, and a thick Irish accent. And it just surprised us every time. Great fight, great win here for Franz.
Yeah, and he's a gracious winner. Now we move on into our next bout, Mexico versus Chile. This is becoming an iconic rivalry in Combate Global history.
Yeah, I think Brazil and Chile have the best MMA fighters. I think that's kind of a tough statement to really argue with. But here we see Chile versus Mexico, and these guys, you see, they're just back and forth, trading punches, standing toe-to-toe. Neither one wants to back down.
And it goes to the decision in the way of the Chileno. He will advance into the semifinals. Now, this one's my favorite one. France versus USA. The way it is finished is kind of cartoon-like. France is coming in hot, throwing those haymakers, not really protecting his chin so much. And he is getting tagged up by the American. France, represented by Pierre Daguzan. He's running away. He's had enough.
Well, he's out. He just doesn't know it.
And Raul Porrata stopped the action, and Leo Muniz will advance into the semifinals.
Now you see Kevin Cordero, one of our favorite Spanish fighters. This guy, I don't know if he has emotions. He certainly doesn't show emotion. Look at this.
His face.
He's robotic. Just let me choke you unconscious here.
Yes, that is what he's going for against the Spaniard. Didn't have that guillotine locked in, and these two will duke it out for the full 5 minutes.
Yeah, I can't choke you out, so let me just beat you in the head until.
And these guys
back at it.
Holding back at all because it's just 5 minutes in the first round.
Well, it's win or go home, right?
Exactly.
So it's win or go home. So, and there. the loser's like, what? And Kevin's like, yeah, there's kind of a smile.
The
whatever.
Argentinian is not happy about that one, but now we're moving on into the semifinals where we're getting to see that swag from Ireland's friends. And oh my gosh, this slam.
Oh, yeah.
Knew that was coming. The
Oh,
train.
yeah. This was a very good fight. It's a great fight, a lot of action. Both men very determined. Look at this. And as you say, they're totally going for it. Nothing held back.
And Christian Barraza is the shorter man. He's trying to get a little unorthodox with his strikes because against the Irishman.
Well, look at the he just did his Conor McGregor.
He's getting
and
his swag
boom.
on. Feeling real confident headed into the final of 2021's Copa Combate. Kevin, he never makes eye contact with his opponent. I think that's kind of cool. He's like, I don't want to make eye contact with someone I'm about to starch.
He's like an assassin. I think he's like one of those guys that watches out the window and then takes you out.
Calm, cool, and collected, ready to take your head off at any moment. But Leo Muniz not backing down.
Yeah, tough guy, tough chin. Look, you're seeing Kevin throwing punches and bunches, and it works.
That barrage of punches lands right on the money, completely knocking out cold the American Leo Muniz. And he was down to stand in the fire and trade, but he came on the wrong side of that exchange.
Yeah, wow, there's Kevin celebrating heartily. Yes, what a win.
What a stoic guy, again, avoiding eye contact. Focused and ready to leave it all on the line for $100,000.
These guys physically were very well matched up. Long reach, long lean muscles, both very, very tough guys.
And they are going to town on each other. Spain versus Ireland. This has got to be one of Combate Global's toughest Spanish fighters, I'd say.
Absolutely. Kevin is definitely the toughest, the most skilled.
I mean, those
he's
back
got an
tattoos,
arsenal.
You got to be pretty tough to have all that work going on for you.
See how he's got legs and arms and everything going.
Yes, and these guys are duking it out for 3 rounds because this is the final of Copa Combate. So you can't just, leave all the gas out of the tank within the first round. You have to play it smart. But it looks like they're just going guns blazing the entire time.
And this was a great, great, great fight.
And a split decision win goes to the Irishman.
A lot of people disagreed with that decision. I go back and forth, but, don't leave it to the judges.
Big payday for the Irishman. And now we get to talk about 2023 Copa Combate, my personal favorite for unbiased reasons. But that one was a war from start to finish.
It was. And, it's okay to be biased, by the way, Alex. I think one of the reasons it's the best as Combate's talent has continued to improve year over year. And I think this was really the proof of it. And I think the winner is one of the best examples of that.
Let's take a look into 2023 Copa Combate. Now taking us back to December of 2023, a stacked division. Up first, we have the Jiu-Jitsu specialist taking on the Karateka in Alexander Shank. And this one, once it got to the mats, it was really tough for the Karateka to get the brown belt off of his back.
Yeah, look, you need a mix. You need to have a full arsenal in MMA these days. If it comes down to skill versus skill, one skill versus one skill, Jiu-Jitsu is always going to win.
Yeah, and Mauricio Igelis got to walk into the semifinals completely unscathed, basically like he just had done a jiu-jitsu match. But here we have El Cachanilla taking on the Chileno, who used to be nicknamed the Mexican because of the way he fights. And he was fighting like a Mexican here, both of them coming forward in probably the craziest quarterfinals that we've had in Copa Combate history.
Well, it was certainly a real battle here. And people mean that as the biggest compliment, fight like a Mexican.
Yes, Ramiro Jimenez, I remember he was dropped in the first round, and he told me that it was his ego that kind of took over. He didn't like that Pablo got the best of him, and his coach was saying, hey, just fight your fight, box. But he just wanted to go for the knockout, and it went to his decision. El Cachanilla would move on into the semifinals. A lot of people had arguments about that, but I thought that was the right call.
Again, don't leave it to the judges.
And now we have Dominican Republic's Tommy Garcia, the smaller man, but he throws those haymakers and has a wrestling background. And he really showed out here.
Hugely popular in the DR. People love him, and for good reasons, because he just goes for it.
He went for it here, and a lot of people didn't think the Argentinian was completely out, but Raul Purata comes in with a crazy football tackle and gives the win to Tommy Garcia.
His signature tackle. Raul's job is to make sure no one gets really, really hurt, and that's what he's there for.
Yes, the football tackles might need to, have a safety hazard of their own, but we'll keep that in mind for next time. But here we have Leonardo Morales, who was a favorite coming in.
Absolutely.
Likely the toughest test for Ramiro Jimenez, who was looked at as the #1 seed, taking on Uruguay's Nico Barna. And here Nico's back to the feet. But Leonardo, he retained an injury after this, and he wanted to continue competing.
Yeah, but he couldn't.
But he couldn't. He couldn't even walk. You'll see it in this moment back here.
Well, am I in this? Because I remember this moment. His coach is screaming at me, and, I think the doctors are saying, he can't go on, and the coach is saying he's got to go on.
Yeah.
Remember, the coach gets 15% of the 100,000.
And now we are on to the semifinals with Mauricio Igelis, who just went into a jiu-jitsu submission and gets completely knocked out against Ramiro Jimenez. Wow, perfectly placed.
Oh, did you see that? I mean, he hit the whole of his face. He started at the chin and worked up to the forehead.
And El Cachanilla knew that he was going to try to take him down, and he perfectly placed that kick. And now we got some trash talking in the lead-up. I know Ramiro was saying something along the lines of, yo soy un perro, I'm a dog. And now he gets that Kimura grip and finishes that shoulder lock against the less experienced Dominican Republic in the grappling area. And is going to be able to finish it.
Look, it's a good example of that particular arm bar, that type of arm bar, and it's a great example of our gold gloves.
Beautiful, beautiful work by Ramiro Jimenez, who's taking in the fact that he just won $100,000, the biggest payday of his career, a bright and shining star coming to Copa Combate. What a wild ride all these Copa Combate tournaments have taken us on. I mean, 2023, a star was really born with Ramiro Jimenez getting a win in such dominant fashion. But do you have a favorite moment from all the Copa highlights that we've seen?
Well, I tell you, you've always got to think about the first time you do it, right? And the Cancun event was great, and we saw that in the last show. That was great. I did like when we were able to bring in Europe, right? Because we did North American winner, we had a South American winner, and then we had a European winner. That's cool. That's 3 different continents. But I got to say, I think Ramiro's win, I have not seen someone look as confident throughout the Copa and ready for his next steps as Ramiro was. And he's a young guy, too. So I think I'm most excited about Ramiro Jimenez.
And it really showed his heart, because I don't think in the history of Copa Combates anyone was coming in with as much damage as Ramiro Jimenez did after that quarterfinals with Pablo Burgos. I mean, talk about the heart that you need in order to even participate in a Copa Combate, because there's injuries, there's mental struggles. So what does it take
and
to
you're
be
physically
successful?
tired, right? Like, so if you compare the Tour de France bicycle riders, their cardio is comparable to fighters. They race bikes up mountains, but fighters have tremendous cardio because fighting is so adrenalized and takes every part of your body, and it's just so hard. This is such a hard event to come through, and I think Ramiro probably could win this year's Copa, except he's not a woman. And what we're going to do this year is we're going to have a women's Copa for the first time.
Is that official breaking news right now?
That is official. That is breaking news. You heard it here first. Please go to your social media accounts and say, Campbell announced the 2024 Copa is an all-women's Copa. 8 women, 3 fights, 1 night. Ow!
And why is it the perfect time for the woman to get this type of spotlight and battle it out for $100K?
Well, is it the perfect time? I would say it's more long overdue. I would actually say it's a long overdue, because
I like that answer.
Women have been doing exceptionally well for Combate. There's obviously a huge interest in women's sports in general. And, it just is time. UFC 1, which is over 30 years ago, I didn't have the nerve to have women come into the UFC because I was in enough trouble with the guys, but I did have a woman commentator. The first woman commentator in fight sports was in UFC 1. So I would say it's long overdue. Girls, bring it. You got it. It's all yours. Be in it. Let's do that right now. Let's not even wait till December.
I know I'm kind of hesitant to ask too many questions about this since it's such breaking news. Do we have a division in mind? Are we doing flyweight, strawweight? I know we have awesome atomweights, but
I don't. I better check with my fight team because no joke. I just decided to do this right here in this instant. So I better check with the company. I want to talk to Mike. I want to talk to Tony. I want to talk to Arafat. I need to talk to the fight team. I think 105. I think atomweight. I think. But then the 115, and it could be 125. I don't know. I gotta talk. But we're gonna do a women's Copa this year. That's how it is.
I'm sure a lot of the 105ers wouldn't mind putting on a little extra weight just to make it into the 110 or 115 range, because that's a lot of money that they would be duking it out for. And the women have really made their mark in this Combate Global promotion.
Absolutely.
Really elevating the TikTok, the Snapchat, because they're some of the most viral fighters that we have for Combate Global, and they bring the action every time.
If you're a new fan to the sport or new fan to Combate, you need to check out our girl fights. We've been talking about the Copa, which is an amazing event, a truly amazing event, but every woman's fight is an amazing fight. Fun, action, and just always surprising.
Combate Global, always bring in the action. Thank you for joining us on the Best of Views. That's Campbell McLaren. I'm Alex. We'll see you next time.